Mike here with Jeeps on the Run, and today we are talking about the ZB7 recall and the check engine light. I know many of you guys came in for the recall or went in for the recall, and you came out with more problems than you went in for. I was the same, had 25,000 miles, trouble-free, no issues, few other hiccups in my 4xe, but nothing that was any different than any other Wrangler JL, so to me, that's not a topic to discuss. So we're talking about the ZB7 recall and the other issues that came up behind the recall. So maybe you've had a check engine light, maybe you're battling some issues, hopefully we can help. So what was the ZB7 recall? That is where Jeep came out and said that the vehicle could lose power at any time, under any circumstance, and just a loss of power. The chances of that happening were slim, but they pushed hard to get the ZB7 recall out. We all rushed to get it, and some of us came home with more problems than we went in for. So after my ZB7 recall, which I had no trouble prior to, I received a check engine light, and I received, actually take that back. I had a check engine light the day I brought it in for the recall. So we kind of chalked it up to the recall is giving me troubles, and so I brought into Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, and here's what they determined. So I've got about 6 pages of updates they did in my vehicle. It was about 6 hours worth of computer updates. Obviously the ZB7 recall was in there, but also other things such as the IDCM, the BPCM, and the PCM, and there was a few more, the HCP and the TCM. I know enough of what these are to be dangerous, but that's kind of not the point of this conversation. So all of these modules on my vehicle got updated at the same time as this recall. It was all part of this push, at least for me. Depending on when your vehicle was last into the shop, or when you got your recall, or when your vehicle was built, you might have already had some of these updates. So some of these people that have no issues after the recall, great. You guys are good. Some of them that maybe had other issues after the recall, let's talk about why. So it's my understanding that after the recall, the software was all changed. Imagine everything that, all the brains, they took the brains out of your Jeep and put new brains in. But these new brains were a little more picky, right? They're a little more stringent. So maybe you had a pre-existing problem in your 4xe that now after the recall, or after all of these updates, that maybe you got the same ones I did. Maybe what's happening is now the computer says, hey, I noticed this problem over here now, where the old computer is like, I wasn't worried about that one. Putting it in layman's terms, obviously. So the new update that pushed through is more stringent and more picky about some of the way the vehicle communicates with each different component of the system, which in fact is good, right? Because now if we have some issues where people were stuck in form and it wasn't triggering check engine lights, right? So maybe this, well, it may be a frustration. It may help Jeep. It may help some of these mechanics dial in what's exactly going on with the vehicle that maybe you were having trouble with. Again, my vehicle was good. After the service, I got the service charging system. Vehicle would not charge on my level 2, my level 1. I tried both, obviously. I tried different chargers. Vehicle would not charge. So again, we brought it in, thought it was part of the recall, did all the updates, worked great for about 3 or 4 days, got home, guess what happened? Check engine light came back on, vehicle would not charge. You know what, this is I know we're guinea pigs with some of this. I know some of us have sold the vehicles over this. Fortunately, my Jeep dealership goes above and beyond, and they're very, very knowledgeable about this system. Granted, they're all learning too, but they are very knowledgeable on hybrid systems and have hybrid trained technicians. You've seen me post about Colin in my videos before. 30 years in Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, so he's not new to learning new things and new technology. So bring the Jeep back. So now this is my second time back. Not a huge inconvenience. Ray's been great to me. They give me with a loaner car. I can't complain. Some of you guys have been without your vehicle for 4, 5, 6 weeks, some months. Frustrations are setting in. I can understand that. I'm watching some of the comments where they're saying you got to bring your vehicle in with the dead battery so they can actually look at it. you know, there are procedures in place for these mechanics to work on your hybrid vehicle. Bringing in with a dead battery is not a requirement. So some of these comments I'm seeing, I think you need to find a better service department. That's one thing about Ray, is they put their feet forward and learning the new products. You know, keep in mind, these dealerships have open lines of communications with engineering departments. They can open star cases, what they call them. They can have communications directly based with the people who built and designed these vehicles. So if you're getting pushback from your dealership saying, you know, we're just not sure how to fix this, or, you know, we think this is it, you know, question them, ask them, hey, have you reached out to your open lines of communication? Because my dealership has, and in fact, it's in my RO. So these are questions you should be asking if you're not getting the proper service. Let's talk about what was wrong with my vehicle. So it turns out what was throwing my check engine light is what's called the IDCM. So it's the integrated dual charging module. I'm not going to go into technical details, mostly one, because I don't know them all. I know enough to be dangerous, not going to lie. But basically, this is the brains of the charging system. This is what says when you plug that charger in, it says, all right, we've got a connection here, we're coming back here, we've got a connection to the wall, we've got a connection. All right, then you hear that big click, really, you know, everything flips over and it starts charging. This is all part of that system. This is part of both the 12 volt and, you know, and the high voltage charging system. It's the brains of the system. It's actually cooled with coolant that runs through it. So it's a big module that sits underneath the vehicle, but it's the brains of your charging system. Right here on mine, you know, my mechanics went through and says, hey, this is what I've done, this is what I did. They reached out to Chrysler and says, these are the steps I've taken. Chrysler says, first thing I do is check the connections, check this, check this. My mechanic says, yes, we've done this, and this. The vehicle's never been in an accident, never been off-roaded, everything's clean, connections are good. It's at that point, Chrysler says, next step is to replace your IDCM. They send me a new, well, not me, they send them a new IDCM. He puts it in, and then they go through their tests. I was getting the service charging system amongst with other stored codes, which to us just shows up as a check engine light. So at the end of the day, they replaced my IDCM. It's been about 3,000 miles, and I'm here glad to report the Jeep is running great. Charges just like normal, and I'm back to what we had. Having said this, I've got the vehicle. It's a 2021. I've got a little over 30,000 miles on it. That's really the only hiccup I've had in my 4xe at all. I've had more problems with proven vehicles. I had a Cadillac Escalade that had spent more time in the shop in the year that I owned it than this thing probably ever will in its entire life. So I know there's people that are frustrated with their vehicles, they're frustrated with their 4xEs. I have personal friends that have actually sold their 4xe because they don't trust it, or they don't this or that. And I understand that, but I feel if you're having these issues, you probably should find a Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram store that cares, or that has the knowledge to actually work on these vehicles. They are much different, and you've got to have people who are specially trained and have the tools and knowledge to work around them. So I highly recommend Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. You've seen me talk about Colin all the time. Again, Master Tech, but every time he works on me a vehicle, at the end of the day, it's always fixed right, and it's done properly, and we have no issues. So I'm happy to report that my ZB7 recall, again, I think it's a good thing that the programming changed. Lets us know that maybe there's bigger issues. Maybe those that were stuck in form had a bad module somewhere else that may now be triggering that check engine light. While I understand it's kind of a frustration, maybe you understand that it's maybe always was broken, but now the system is telling you, hey, we've got an issue over here, and maybe it was just working around it in the past. So keep that in mind. As always, let us know what you think about your 4xe. What's your thoughts? Have you loved it? Are you keeping it? What is your thought? Has this stuff drove you crazy? Again, these are really my only repairs. I had one other with loose ball joints, which was common on the Gladiators and other Wranglers, and actually that's all I've had with mine. I actually had a JL that had went through 5 radios before, and this one's been good to us. So like and subscribe. Let us know what you think about your 4xe. And if you got any questions about your recall, let us know and see if we can help you out. We've got a great connection with our friends over at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Happy Jeeping, guys. We'll see you at Jeeps on the Run.